Hello, welcome to Mushabbar from the capital of Sweden, Stockholm. Today I am going to talk about different kind of property ownership and living rights in Sweden. This video is going to help both newcomers who are either planning to move to Sweden or who are already living in Sweden but they are new, and also this is going to help those people who have lived in Sweden for many years, even decades, because I have witnessed that even those people don't know what are different kind of property ownership rights and living rights in Sweden, and lot of people are abusing those rights. There are basically three kind of property ownership and living rights in Sweden. Number one is called Hyresrätt, number two is called BOSTADRÄTT, and number three is called Äganderätt or ÄGARLÄGENHET. And don't confuse about the pronunciation. I may pronunciate something that sounds a bit wrong, but the focus is not on pronunciation. The focus is that you should be able to understand my messages, and I hope you do. If you don't, please write your comments in the comment section under this video. So as I said, many people in Sweden who have even lived here for many years, they are sometimes mixing these ownership and living rights with the type of property or the structure and the layout and look and feel is something different. Because I have seen here in people, if I show them these houses, these white houses, and ask them what kind of houses they are or what kind of property ownership rights they have, probably they will say Hyresrätt. And if I show them these kind of houses which are detached houses, and if I ask them what kind of property ownership rights people may have who live in that house, probably they will say BOSTADRÄTT. And if I show them these kind of houses, as you see here on my back side and also on both sides, if I show them these kind of houses and if I ask them what kind of ownership rights people have who are living here, they might say it's like Äganderätt. But this is wrong understanding, because Hyresrätt and then BOSTADRÄTT and Äganderätt, these are the ownership and living rights. It has nothing to do with the type or layout or structure of the house. So what is then Hyresrätt? What exactly it means? Hyresrätt basically just means you are having the right to live in the property. And most people who are coming to Sweden or who are even living in Sweden, for them the easiest way to get or the cheapest way to afford a house is like Hyresrätt, which may not be the cheapest way, but that is something that they can afford easily. So, but in Hyresrätt it means basically that you have only the right to live. You don't have any other right. You have no ownership. You have to live according to certain rules and regulations set by your organization who owns these houses. And anyone can rent house like a Hyresrätt or the flat like a Hyresrätt. You can create a company of your own. You can just buy one or two type of properties and you can renting it out. That, and you can rent according to the Hyresrätt terms and conditions. So Hyresrätt is the most common type of renting agreements that people use in Sweden, but the only right they have is to live for themselves. They cannot, for example, rent out second hand. Many people are renting out second hand from Hyresrätt. That is by default. I will use the word by default. By default, it is completely illegal. It is unethical. It is also unmoral. There are exceptions where you can rent out even Hyresrätt. We will talk about that later on. And then BOSTADRÄTT. What is BOSTADRÄTT? In BOSTADRÄTT, you have to own some part of the property, but you don't own everything in the property. You have normally a framing, an organization. They take care of the whole area and they manage all the houses, and you are basically having the right to live in that property. So if you have bought like BOSTADRÄTT property, that just means that you have a right to live according to the rules set by the BOSTADRÄTT förening. Even though you have bought, maybe you have bought some BOSTADRÄTT for maybe millions of krona, maybe 10, 20, 30 millions. I don't know how much millions, but doesn't matter how much money you have paid. The only right you have is to live there on the rules and regulations, or according to the rules or regulations set by the BOSTADRÄTT förening. But to have the right to live there, you have to buy part of the property. So you don't buy complete, you buy only part of that. And also in most cases you cannot rent out second-hand BOSTADRÄTT, because it's not your property. You just have the right to live here by yourself. So also, just like Hyresrätt, you cannot rent out second hand, and then you have to follow some other laws. We will talk about that maybe later on, more about this in the future videos. Also important thing to note is that in Hyresrätt and also in BOSTADRÄTT, you cannot do any major kind of visible changes in your property. You cannot change the property from the outside, you cannot even color. These things has to be done by the förening that manages both Hyresrätt and BOSTADRÄTT properties. So, but in BOSTADRÄTT you can do some kind of small changes inside your property. So you can maybe change the color inside your house or inside your flat or apartment, whatever it is, but you cannot do any kind of visible changes on side of your house. You cannot even do any kind of infrastructure changes, whether inside or outside. The most powerful property ownership right is Äganderätt. In Äganderätt, you basically own most of the property, and you can make decisions what to do about this property, both from inside and outside and on infrastructure level. In some cases, even in Äganderätt, I think in most cases, even in Äganderätt, there is an organization who manages certain things. For example, your garbage collection system may be handled by that förening, maybe cleaning of the roads, and maybe if it is an apartment, then the lift structure and the common things. So even in case of a Äganderätt, sometimes förening is involved. I think in almost all cases there is some kind of organization, but you have the maximum rights to do whatever you want with that property. You can rent out that property as a second hand, no questions asked in most cases. You can also do changes in the property. You can also reconstruct the property. You can also, for example, do different kind of coloring scheme. You still have to follow some laws, but there you have the maximum right. But remember that in all these three kinds of property ownership right, it has nothing to do if it is an apartment or if it is like a detached house, as I showed you in the beginning of the video, or if it is like a villa, like on my back side. On my back side, if you see these black houses, they are pretty big, they looks like villa, but it has nothing to do if the ownership right is Hyresrätt or BOSTADRÄTT or Äganderätt. And many people, I have noticed that whenever they see villa, they think about Äganderätt, but that is not true, because here these properties behind me, they are BOSTADRÄTT. So the people living here, they have just the right to live. They have spent maybe several millions to buy these properties, but they actually have bought only the part of the property, and they have bought the living right with that 7 to 10 million krona. But these are not Äganderätt. So these are not Äganderätt, they are BOSTADRÄTT. So here I think people are confused a bit. And also Äganderätt could be, for example, this kind of red houses. These red houses that you see on my backside, they are detached houses, and people maybe think that these are BOSTADRÄTT, but it has nothing to do about the ownership. These kind of houses, it could be even Hyresrätt, it could be BOSTADRÄTT, it could be Äganderätt, because these property ownership and living rights has nothing to do with the type of the property. And these small apartments, like you see in the white apartments on my backside, uh, they are also BOSTADRÄTT. So in this area, everything is BOSTADRÄTT. So these small apartments, they are like BOSTADRÄTT, and also the red houses are BOSTADRÄTT, and also these houses on my back, they are BOSTADRÄTT. So everything here is BOSTADRÄTT, but here you see apartments, here you see detached houses, here you see full villas. And the same thing is valid for Hyresrätt. Hyresrätt could be a villa, could be an apartment, could be detached houses or attached houses. I think I mix detached with attached. I mean attached. Okay, and then same thing goes for Äganderätt. Äganderätt could be an apartment, but most of the time when you look at apartment, it is either a Hyresrätt or BOSTADRÄTT. But nowadays there are apartments that are Äganderätt. Actually, I am in the process of buying an apartment which is Äganderätt, and in Äganderätt you have all the right to do whatever you want with the apartment. You can rent out, no questions asked. So this is the most important message that I want to give you in this video, that there are three types of property or ownership rights in Sweden that are commonly used. Maybe there are more. If there are more, you may let me know. But these three are Hyresrätt, BOSTADRÄTT and Äganderätt. And it has nothing to do with how the property looks, how the look and feel of the property it is. Don't mix with that. And in both Hyresrätt and BOSTADRÄTT, by default, you can't rent that out to other people. So there is no second-hand renting possible. With the third type of property ownership right, which is Äganderätt, you can rent out. So you can rent out second hand, no questions asked. Now, in the first two cases, Hyresrätt and BOSTADRÄTT, there are exceptions when it is possible to rent out your property second hand. And the exception is that when you are going abroad, for example, for study or for education or maybe for work, then you can do that, but you have to take permission from your organization who owns these houses, because you don't own it. The only thing that you own is the living right. So you have to ask your organization for the permission, and if they give permission, you can normally rent out, and normally they give permission for maximum up to 2 years. After 2 years, you may have to sell the property if you don't want to live there. There is also another legal way to share the cost of living in Sweden if you want to rent out to someone, and that is not called renting out, that is called Inneboende. I think I am pronouncing it properly, Inneboende. Am I right? Inneboende basically means that you are living together. So you can live with someone else in the same house or apartment, whether it is Hyresrätt or BOSTADRÄTT, and that is called living together. So practically you have to live together, your postal address should be the same, and then you can share the cost. So this is the legal way of you can say sharing the cost or renting out Hyresrätt and BOSTADRÄTT. But for Äganderätt, you can rent out, you can have profit, you can do whatever you want. There are also some other things that I wanted to talk about, but this video is going to be too long, so I think I should make several videos to cover this topic. For example, how to buy a new house or apartment, what steps you have to follow. If you want to do changes in your houses, how you can do those changes. If you want to, for example, do some kind of construction work changes, you want to build altan and so on. So we will cover all those topics in the future that may help you. So thank you to all of you. Goodbye. If you like this video, please share this video to the whole world. Spread this video everywhere. We are confident that this channel is going to have a huge impact. This channel is going to change some of the lives of the people. So please subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon and stay tuned. Thank you to all of you. Goodbye.